Hi, hi, hi. Happy Wednesday, everybody. How are you? How are you? I'm going to give people just a moment here to join. We are talking about my first love today, mindset. I will never shut up about it. This is my favorite thing. Let me mute myself really fast here. Okay, great. We are live. If you're live, say hi. Let me be able to say hi back to you. Thank you for joining. Thank you for being part of this amazing group. If you're new to me, I go live here in the group and I always find myself having to adjust my body position. Please bear with me. Don't sit still all the time at your desk. Learn from my body pain. Welcome to this group. Welcome to today's conversation about mindset. This is a really, really near and dear topic to my heart, and really and truly, mindset really is my first love. I've always been fascinated by psychology and human behavior and the way the brain works, not so much from a biology standpoint, but just from the way that, 10 people can experience the same exact thing in a room and have 10 very different perspectives and experiences of what actually just happened, even though they experienced the same thing. And I find human behavior to be so, so fascinating. So this really was my first love. I was a psych major. I have a master's degree in organization development, which is a lot of organizational psychology, applying things like all the behavioral sciences, psych and sociology and all of that to what happens in humans when they change. Or organizations even. And then I took that out into the corporate world and started doing business consulting. That was my first career. But really all of that for me, and the reason that I like to also help people with the running of their business and the like more strategy, practical managing team side of running a business is because there's so much psychology behind it. Because for those of you who are running heart-centered businesses, which is you guys here in the group, you cannot separate life and business. You cannot separate the business from the business owner, nor would I want to. And I think that's just how I see the world. It's just a really big part of the work that I've done in the last more than 20 years. We'll just leave it at that. So mindset today. So today is part one in a two-part series. We're going to finish this up next week. And just a quick reminder, I go live here every single week on Wednesday at the exact same time. And I'm making a tiny change just for next week. I'm going to go to live at the same time on Thursday, just next week. I'm actually going to be on a plane. I'm traveling all day on Friday. I'm traveling all day on Wednesday. So I will not be here. I will not be connected to the internet to give this live next week. So join me at this time next Thursday for part two. So again, this is all about mindset today, but really what we're talking about, and we're going to talk about the flip side next week. What we're really talking about is, how do you know if you have a mindset issue or a strategy issue, a mindset issue or an action issue? Because so often I find that is a lot of the work I do. If I just were to take all of my coaching conversations and really boil them down and oversimplify them, so often what I'm helping my clients do is figure out what they want me to do from a mindset perspective and what they need to do from an action perspective. And oftentimes we will try to solve our own problems with potentially the wrong approach. So for example, if you have a challenge in your business. Let's say, for example, I'm just going to double check and make sure I'm having a weird tech thing. Let's say, for example, your revenue dips for a couple of months and you want to take a peek at what's happening in your business and decide whether or not you need to make a change. And if so, what changes you might need to make. Okay, great. How do you know? How do you know that your mindset, like, did your revenue dip because of your mindset? Have you been having mindset challenges, or did your revenue dip because something's happened from a more strategic, practical perspective, and you need to take some type of action? So how do you know? That's the question that we're answering over the next 2 weeks of lives. Today, it's going to be, how do you know if you have a mindset issue? Next week, it's going to be, how do you know if you have an action issue? And I often like to say, sometimes we think our mindset block is actually an action block. And I mean, look, guys, here's the not so secret true answer to both of these questions, which is it's mindset and action. They have to go together. You can, if you miss bringing them together, you will be missing something pretty important in your business. And oftentimes you will not create the results that you're looking for. So I'm not today telling you when you only need to take mindset or action, you only need to worry about your mindset and not take any action. And I'm not next week telling you when you only need to take action and not give a shit about your mindset, right? You're always going to be, I think, finding that balanced sweet spot between both, and they go hand in hand. But oftentimes we will approach a situation, particularly what we perceive to be a problem. And I like to put problems in quotation marks because most problems in business are not actually problems. It's just like anything in life, it's just how we perceive it. But most of us tend to approach problems from one or the other preference. So we might really, if you're like me, you love mindset work and you're like, ooh, my revenue dipped, or my whatever your problem is, right? Like maybe you have a couple of clients that are, I was just having a conversation with someone today who was saying all of a sudden there are some people that she was doing business with that like all of a sudden she's gotten 3, 4, 5 calls in the last couple of weeks where that people are saying, I don't want to do business with you. So paying attention to that and going, okay, what's happening? Is this good because these are people who were misaligned to me anyway? Is this good because it's representative of my mindset change and the changes that I've made and just sort of moving into the next space? Or is it not great? Is it a problem, right? I'm not going to really say that it's a problem, but is it a problem because I'm kind of jacked up and people don't want to work with me because I've got some mindset stuff going on? Or is it something that I need to take some sort of action around because I'm, you know, what would be the solution? Maybe I just need to spend more time with my customers so that they feel taken care of, right? I'm not saying that that was her issue. I'm just making that as an example. So how do you know, right? How do you know what the actual problem is? And that's what we're talking about today. Okay, I'm just going to check here on the comments. Say hi if you're live. Let me know if this is making sense. Okay. So today is all about how do you know if you have a mindset issue, and how, and again, the most important thing, if you don't listen to the rest of this live, the most important thing here is that one of the biggest skills you can learn to cultivate, and I say that with intention, you can learn to cultivate this skill just because you've never run a business before, if you're new to business, or maybe you've been in business for a really long time and you still don't feel very confident in your business running skills. These are skills that you can learn. These are skills that you can learn. This is stuff that I teach my clients all the time. Learning to feel more comfortable and confident in the CEO role. But it is really, really important. One of those skills is knowing how to solve the actual problem that you have. So one of the things that I see a lot, and what today's conversation is about, is I see a lot of times people either see a problem in their business. Let's say the example I gave of, you know, all of a sudden you're just kind of losing business, or you're closing out work with people that you thought you might continue working with. Again, we can argue about whether that's actually a problem, but let's just pretend for a minute that this is a problem that you want to solve. or maybe your revenues dipped for a few months and it doesn't really make sense based on what you've been doing, and you're sort of like, ooh, this makes me nervous. Whatever it is that's happening in your business that you perceive as a problem, so often I see people running towards action and changing their strategy, or maybe you've decided to put out a slightly different strategy or a new offer and you don't get the result. So a lot of times it's because something has happened, right? Clients leave, or you have a dip in your revenue, but also sometimes I see this phenomenon happen, or habit pattern happen when we create something somewhat new and we put it out into the world and we don't get the results that we are hoping for or expecting as quickly as we think they're going to happen. And so then we freak out, right? So all of this is one of the mistakes we can make in business, is running at a problem with all action and all strategy and all work and doing, and not actually knowing if we're solving the right problem. So can you imagine, let's say, for example, that you are afraid of being visible. Let me give a more simple example. Let's say, for example, that the true situation is that you don't really like sales calls. You don't really like making offers to people. You're not maybe confident in your pricing. And you're just a little bit uncomfortable in that whole sales process. Once somebody is your client, you got them. You have your special thing that you do with them. You know how to support them. You are an expert in your field. You are running. But so the issue is, and then let's follow that. So let's say this person is experiencing a situation where they're just not bringing in enough clients to support their business or to support their goals. They're not able to scale at the level that they want to. Do they have a mindset problem, or do they have a strategy problem? Well, I don't know what their strategy is because I'm just making this person up. But what I've said to you is they're afraid of sales. So can you see why, if you're afraid of sales, why you might not be making sales? So even if you have the best strategy, even if you have a perfectly aligned price point for your work, even if you have, really great social media, a pretty little website, all of these things, a great aligned offer that really highlights what you do, where people really understand it, you could have all of that, right? And if you're uncomfortable on the sales calls and you have a mindset issue around that, that's probably the reason you're not selling at the level that you want, right? So in this example, you can take all the bloody action that you want and you can sell yourself to death or get everything out the door, push, and you still may not make the sale because the problem is here or here, right? So in this example, and today what we're talking about is, I so often see people either not give something a chance to work. Like, I'm going to tweak my strategy. I'm going to put out a new offer. And we decide that I swear to God, sometimes it's like a 2 to 3 week thing. 2 to 3 weeks, I didn't get any clients. I didn't get any clients from this new thing I'm doing. So it's total shit. I'm going to scrap it, start over, recreate this strategy. Is that really the right answer? Or did I just not give it a minute to work? So I need to work on my mindset. I need to work on my expectations. I need to work on my patience. I need to work on just trusting that it's coming, right? Versus scrapping and starting over. So all of that is to say, hi guys, welcome. I see a couple people live. Okay, so where did I want to go with this? I got distracted. Hi, welcome, loves. So all this is to say, it's really, really, really important to solve the right problem. Again, 9 times out of 10, 99.999 times out of 100, your action and your mindset must be aligned, must go together. You need both. So again, I'm not telling you today that like all you need is, if these examples that I'm giving you fit you, that all you need is mindset work. That's not actually true. But if if you are running at it with only action and you're missing mindset, then this is just a reminder and an opportunity to kind of come back into the space, to just recheck your mindset, look at what's really happening. Okay. And then again, next week, we're going to talk about when is it that you're putting a little more emphasis on mindset than you need to, and you're using that as an excuse and an opportunity to avoid the truth of what you really need to do, which is taking some sort of action. Even if that action feels uncomfortable, sometimes we will hide behind mindset stuff before to keep ourselves from taking that action. That's one of the really sneaky ways that we self-sabotage ourselves. So we're going to talk about that next week. Okay. So when you are, God, we've got a lot of loud trucks today. I hope you can hear me. Before I get into this, so today we're talking about 3 clues, 3 things that you might notice in yourself, 3 things you might notice in your business, 3 things you might notice in your work that can give you a little clue to, oh, I might need to check my mindset here. Hold on a minute. I might need to stop and pause and look at what I'm really saying to myself. Okay, sorry for the traffic noise. So we're going to talk about 3 clues, but first I want to just talk a little bit for a moment about what happens when we're not looking at our mindset, what happens when we are, and I've done this myself, like when we're kind of avoiding mindset, because it's like, yeah, I know, I'll get to that, but first I have to do all these things on my list, right? And that's not to say that that's not the right answer sometimes. Sometimes that's absolutely the right answer. We have to find a balance. And so what you are going to hear me do, which I do all the time, is I'm going to talk a little bit out of both sides of my mouth, because it's not either or. It's not black and white. Life and business are not either or, black and white. It's a little bit of both. But again, this is today about talking about these clues where you can go, oh, hold on a minute, I'm missing a little mindset stuff. Because when we don't do mindset work, or when we aren't aware of how we're operating, it's not even about sitting down and doing mindset work. This is about when you're not aware of something that's playing out and you have a mindset issue that is a blind spot. Okay, so today is really about blind spots. What are we really doing instead? Why do we have these blind spots, and why are we doing, solving the wrong problem? Again, it's the brain likes to self-sabotage us because it has an idea of what will keep us safe, and doing things out of our comfort zone is not what the cavemen used to do to keep themselves safe and alive and feed their families. Okay, so the brain, not prehistoric, but like the ancient parts of our brain want to keep us safe. Not right, not wrong. Well, not wrong. And we have to work with that on a regular basis and make sure that we're looking at reality instead of just what our brain wants to tell us. So when we aren't aware of what's going on in our mindset, it's in part because we have these sneaky self-sabotaging parts of our mind that want to give us excuses and want to make us safe. And so if we don't go out of our comfort zone, or we don't play big, or we don't take these certain actions, or we take a lot of action so that we don't have to do the thing that we really don't want to do, the thing that we're really avoiding, even if we don't know it, because we have this blind spot, that's our brain's opportunity. That's our brain's job to keep us safe. And so one thing you're not going to hear me say today is like getting mad at yourself that you're wrong for having all these. You have a brain, so this is just what's going to happen. Welcome to humanity. This is just about how to keep learning and working with it. It wants to keep us from vulnerability. It wants to protect our not enoughness, right? So a lot of times when we are missing something from a mindset perspective and we aren't aware of how something is playing out, it's because there's some sort of vulnerability, avoidance, not enoughness, etc. And then the other reason why we might miss something from a mindset perspective, besides just the obvious, like I always tell my clients, you can't see it because you're in it. You just can't see it because you're in it. It's really hard to see the forest for the trees when you are in something. This is why coaching is so valuable. This is why I'm not only a coach, I have my own coach, so that I can see, even if I'm teaching something, even if I can see it in my clients, it does not mean I can always see it in myself. So this is why coaching is so helpful, because you're just in it. The other thing I see that plays out when we aren't aware that we have a mindset issue is this concept of, one of my favorite concepts actually, because it's just one of the sneaky ways that things happen, this idea of secondary gains. So a secondary gain is, even if you have a pattern of doing something that doesn't serve you and you know it, even if you're aware of it, so oftentimes, have you ever found yourself caught in a habit or a pattern? And I'm going to talk about one of these in a minute related to this clue. Have you ever found yourself in a habit or a pattern that you knew was a habit, that you knew that it wasn't serving you, and you just kind of can't seem to find a way out? You can't break that cycle. You just can't break that pattern, and you know it and you feel it, and you may even judge yourself for it because it keeps coming up and you're like, shit, here it is again. So often, what I like to ask myself when I have this happen, or what I'll ask a client when they have something like this coming up, is, how is this serving you? What are you getting? Because you know with the ways that it doesn't serve you, you know what you're not getting out of it, but what are you getting out of it? Because the truth is, if you're doing something and you keep doing it, there is a part of you that gets something out of it. So one example, okay, I'm going to bleed a little bit into example number one, but one example is, I find this happens a lot. One of the patterns I see a lot of entrepreneurs doing is they are sort of in this cyclical energy of overworking, being overcommitted, having too many things on their calendar or too many things on their to-do list, feeling like they are chained to commitments that they made, that they're kind of maybe sometimes sorry that they made in hindsight, feeling like you still have to follow through with those commitments. This pattern of, I'm working more than I want to, and I don't know how to stop it. And I feel chained to this level of work. I don't know if I can keep running my business and make the money that I want to make and work any less than this. I don't know how to pull myself out of this cycle of overwork. And then the other cycle, the other sort of clue I find within this way of being, within this energy of overwork, is so often people will say to me, and I've done this myself, guys, I know you have too. They'll say to me, in like a week or two, I'll have a handle on it. I just have to get through this week, or I just have to get through the next 2 weeks, or I just have to get through this month. And then I can stop and slow down and breathe and replan, or then I can end this client relationship that's draining me, or then I can't, right? And it's like always right there, or just almost there. If you can just get through the one thing, well, then what happens, right? Once you get to that moment, it's just more of the same. You have continued agreements and promises and commitments that you've made, or you haven't solved the problem, so you're still doing it while you figure out a way to fix it, right? And that it just perpetuates. So if you are stuck in the energy of overwork, if you are challenged with overworking as a pattern and you're struggling with how to truly pull yourself, this is one of my favorite things to help clients with, because overwork, whatever overwork means to you, we all have our own definitions of like whatever pace is too much for you. Overwork is not sustainable. If you want to be in business for more than a minute, you can, overwork is not sustainable. It's okay to have peaks and valleys. It's okay to work as much as you want, but when you are working too much, meaning per your own definition, it is not sustainable. It will wear you out, and it will keep you from doing the magic that you're meant to do in the world. And it will keep all those people who really need to be impacted by you, it will keep them from your magic. I like to offer instead creating a sustainable business model. And this is a big piece of what I help my clients do, is to unravel those things. Some of them are practical. A lot of them are mindset. The things in your business and the structures and the ways things are set up that aren't serving you, that are keeping you in overwork. So back to I'm going to keep bleeding back and forth. So this is one of my first clues. If you're in the energy of overwork, you might have a mindset issue. In fact, I guarantee you do. But what's the secondary gain to working too much? For those of you, and I'm going to be really slow about this, because if you're listening, I want you to really be thinking in this. I mean, if you're listening, hi. And if you're listening and this pertains to you, I want you to really think about yourself. What is it that you're getting from staying in this pattern of overwork? You know, probably all the things you're not getting from it, and the ways that you're sacrificing, and the ways that you're not getting what you want out of it. But there is something, or most likely more than one thing, that you're getting that helps you stay stuck in the pattern. Okay. If you're still thinking about yourself, I invite you to pause and then come right back to this, because I'm going to give you a couple of examples of what I see showing up here. And if you're still thinking about yourself, I want you to take that time for you. If you're stuck in the overwork space, one of your secondary gains, one of the things that you might be getting out of it is people pleasing. People might like that you do these things for them, even if you don't want to do them, or even if you're doing too much of it, or even if you're, let's say you offer X to your clients, but you have some clients that are asking you for X plus 2. And even though you don't really want to do it, you just do it anyway because you want to make them happy and you love them and you like working with them and you don't want to lose the business. And even though this is actually what you're offering and what you tell people you do, you're willing to kind of go outside your own boundary for a people-pleasing purpose, right? And I'm way oversimplifying, but we get something when we please people. And our brain doesn't feel safe when we hold a boundary with people always, right? Our brain oftentimes will be like, oh gosh, what if they're mad at you? What if you lose the business? This is a really great relationship that you have with your client. This is somebody you really love. What are you going to do? Holding that boundary, saying no, even if saying no is just, no, I'm not going to do that extra little thing that you've asked me to do. And maybe, how do you know even that they even care, right? But when we get wrapped up around pleasing other people, that's when we overcommit ourselves. That's when we sacrifice ourselves. That's when we do things that are outside of our, I don't want to say comfort zone, but outside of like our scope of work. That's when we flex in our boundaries in ways that actually sacrifice us in order to please others. So that's one of those examples of when we are missing something from a mindset perspective, when we're not aware of a mindset issue playing out, it's most likely because we have a secondary gain. And really with any mindset issue, particularly those places where we feel stuck, there is a secondary gain attached to it, whether we're aware of it or not. And so sometimes just even asking yourself that question is really, 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 really helpful. Okay, so what are the clues? I love that it's 3:30 and we're just now getting into the 3 clues, but I've bled in and out. But again, the whole first piece of today was really, really important and is just as big of a message, because if you're not looking at mindset effectively or correctly, or you're not looking at how they connect mindset and action, then you're gonna just be leading yourself as a business owner, leading from a space of a little bit of blindness. And I really, really, really want to educate people around the way that your mind can get in your own way, the way that you can get in your own way so that you can get out of your own way and really, get your business to a space where you love not just the work, but you love the dollars that are coming in. You love the people that support you and your business. You love your systems and your processes. You love your offer. You love being a CEO. You love making sales calls, right? That you, not to say that everything has to be puppy dogs and rainbows and unicorns, but that you can enjoy and find fulfillment in the CEO role in addition to whatever the work is that you do. Okay, so 3 clues that you have a mindset issue, not a strategy or an action issue. Number 1, are you in the energy of overwork? If you're in the energy of overwork, if you find that you are just so busy, it might be, let me say it this way. there are probably lots of reasons why you have that situation. They are probably a combination of mindset issues or mindset situations or factors and more practical strategic. It could simply be that you just have more clients than you can manage. Okay. That's a wonderful problem to have. And if you are trying to please more people than you have capacity to serve, you're really not serving your clients to the best of your ability. And I would argue there's a little bit of an ethical issue going on there, because if you tell someone you can help them with something, but you really don't have full capacity to help them or to help them in the time frame in which they need that help, then you're not helping them in the way that you could. Okay. So again, this could just simply be, and this happens for a lot of businesses that grow quickly, is like, oh my God, we didn't have capacity for this. Right? So you have to quickly build systems and processes in place to support it. And if you're in the space of overwork, if you just can't seem to get your head above water, yes, there are likely some things that you can do to change the back end of your business, your strategy, your cash flow, your team setup, all kinds of things you can do. And I love, love, love working with my clients around that. But if you don't start with your mindset, you're going to be solving all the wrong problems in the back end as well. Because you've got to know what your secondary gains are. You've got to know what's really happening inside the CEO mind that's causing them to stay in that space of overwork. So those of you who are other coaches, maybe I'd love to know what you've seen in your clients around this. If you're new to coaching, this is something that I have seen over and over and over and over again. And I'm really, really happy to pay it forward. You will notice this in your clients. And when you find somebody who's stuck in overwork, sometimes they don't like it. Sometimes they think they do like it. And so challenging them around all of that and understanding what is it that they're truly getting out of it will be really helpful. And I think if you don't start with, this is another one too, where the reason my focus is on mindset today is not because, and this is a great example, because it's not because there's no practical action to take to get this person out of overwork, right? Maybe they need to hire somebody. Maybe they need to change the way that they do certain things so that they have it on repeat. Maybe they need some templates, whatever it is. Maybe they have to start working with fewer clients and bigger projects so that they don't have too many, they're not serving, 19 people at once, whatever it is. Absolutely, there are practical actions to take to pull people out of this space. But if you're not starting with mindset, and that's why today's focus is mindset, these examples, when you start with mindset, you're going to the big piece. And when you can figure out what you're getting out of it, okay, well, maybe I'm a people pleaser. Okay, I don't like to say no. I don't like to set boundaries. Okay, I can work through that with a colleague, with a coach, with a friend, with your partner, whoever. I can work through that and start to understand why it is that I'm having a hard time with these things. And then I can start to take action to go, oh, I have a boundary issue. So where in my business does this boundary issue show up? And what boundaries do I need to set with my clients? What boundaries do I need to set with my team? What boundaries do I need to set with my time and my calendar, with my family, with my whoever, right? Then you can start to take those actions while you're also working on mindset. And then they really go hand in hand, right? Oh my God, I didn't even mean to. For those of you who are friends, if you've ever been a fan of the show Friends, there's a Phoebe episode where she talks about how lobsters mate for life and they hold hands in their tanks. Hopefully the lobsters actually are in the ocean. I don't like to see lobsters in tanks. Anyway, I just did this, but mindset and action go hand in hand, okay? So overwork is one. There's another one in this. I'm gonna still count this as the same clue. Clue number one is overwork. But a similar way that I see overwork show up is really different, and I call it spaghetti. So when you're throwing spaghetti at the wall, and I see this happen a lot of times with new business owners, but I also see it happen with long-term business owners, and they're just in a new space and they feel like they don't, like, whole new level of not knowing what the F they're doing. and they're throwing spaghetti at the wall. So throwing spaghetti at the wall usually comes out in the form, I think, for most online business owners, it comes out in the form of dispersing their marketing strategy across so many different types of activities and different platforms that they don't get any traction in any space. And they're exhausted because they're trying to be on TikTok, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram. I always want to call it Campfire. What's it called? Clubhouse, right? They want to get on everything. Pinterest. And they need to do video. They need to do long video. They need to do short video. They need to do reels. They need to do written posts. They need to have graphics. They need and they find themselves deciding that they have to do literally everything, literally everywhere, and it wears them out. So throwing spaghetti at the wall is sort of how I look at that. And I think and yes, you could argue that's overwork, but I think the spaghetti energy is a slightly different vibe, because it's like I think the overwork a lot of times has a lot of like structure and purpose to it. There's just a lot of work coming in, or there's a lot of work being generated. Sometimes it's work that you don't actually need to be doing. It's not necessarily efficient. And while that spaghetti throwing energy can also be inefficient, it's really unintentional. Like not unintentional like accidental, but unintentional like it's not intentional. There is no clear strategy or direction or intention with which that person is throwing spaghetti at the wall, right? Because that's the vibe of throwing spaghetti. I'm going to just throw spaghetti on the wall and see what sticks. Which oftentimes shows up in like, I'm an octopus with 8 different arms, and I'm going to use all 8 of my arms to pull different levers and use different places and do all the different things that I've ever seen anybody do, because I'm just straggling and I'm trying to just get some money in this store right now, right? And so you can take really clear intentional action with the very clear, precise strategy and throw all your energy at it and be ready and on it and be fully aligned and like, fuck this, I'm making money right now, and it works. But can you see how that's very different than putting all your time and energy into something and being more like an octopus throwing spaghetti at the wall? There's no intention with that vibe. And truly, I think what happens also with the vibe of overwork is there's not a lot, like there's more intention with that energy, but a lot of times it's just when something comes in, they just say yes to it, right? Or they go, oh, okay, we're going to do this next week, so now I need to do 9 other things around that. And instead of saying, which of these 9 things would make the most sense? Which of these 9 things would be the most strategic, would be the biggest bang for my buck? I'm going to do the top 3. Make sense? Okay, let me know. I haven't checked the comments in a while. Let me just see. If you're live, say hi. Let me know you're here. I'm not seeing any comments, and I don't know if that means there's not any or that I just can't see them. Some weeks I can't see them. So say hi. If I don't get back to you, I will come back in and respond to your comments afterwards. So number 1 clue that your issue is at least primarily, or at least in part, a mindset issue. And my recommendation is that you start looking at your mindset before you try to take any action. Number 1 is you're stuck in a habit or the energy of overwork, or you're stuck in a habit or the energy of spaghetti throwing. Okay. Let me know if you have questions. Number 2, and this is a little bit similar, but I am separating it out because it actually also feels very different to me. If you have what you perceive to be a business problem and your reaction to it is, okay, we are going to do this huge project now. This is going to solve all of our problems. Boom, 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 boom. Big project, big project. You feel compelled to jump into a big project. That's when like my little antenna go up as a coach to say, hold on a minute, take a deep breath. Are you trying to solve this problem with this big project? Because so oftentimes that's not the solution to that problem. So often. So often. So I'm going to give you a couple of examples. One of my time, and This is not an all or nothing, because the very first thing I'm going to say is revamping your website. There is a lot of value in revamping your website. That's something that's on my plate this year. I feel that it doesn't quite represent me. It represents sort of it just doesn't feel like me anymore. It feels like an outdated version of me, but it still says that I'm a coach. It still says primarily what I do. It has links to all the right stuff on it. I just would like to have it feel a little bit more like me now. And it's really important that I'm approaching that project from the space of what's the biggest hit? How can I get the biggest bang for my buck? What needs to be changed first? What's the most outdated, or the thing that someone might land on my website and go and miss that I do? So what's the biggest bang for my buck? And then what can I do, and how do I want to space that out in my work? Like, I'm just trying to get there by the end of the year, right? Because it is not, for me, a money-making space. It is not the first place that people go to all the time. Most people find me on social media. That's just the way that my strategy works. That's just the way that a lot of coaches work. It is not, and I'm also doing it just because it's time to refresh, not because I'm trying to solve a problem, right? So there are lots of reasons why doing some of these things that I'm getting ready to spout out my examples, all of these things have good reason at the right time. But can you see how one might easily go, oh, I'm not making money. It must be because my website's out of date. And here's my other favorite one. I need a rebrand. I guarantee you 100%, you do not need to rebrand if your sales dip a little bit. Branding is not your problem in that example. Now, there are times and absolute problems that happen in business where rebranding is totally appropriate. And I think rebranding, refreshing your website is a very valuable activity, but it's really important to do it at the right time and the right phase in your business for serving the right purpose. So it's sort of like we just have this list of things that we think are solutions. And when we're stuck in a problem, we just run at anything that we think might be a solution to the problem. And then what happens, right? Then we just spend a lot of time, money, and energy, honestly, most of the time, delaying our business results and or creating a new problem, right? Because if I don't have the money that I need to pay the bills and I'm going back to revamp my website, I'm spending all the time that I could be spending on taking sales actions and instead revamping my website. Do you see how that could be the miss, right? So we want to take action and find strategic solutions to our problems that make sense. So all of these examples are things that are good to do, but you need to do them at the right moment, at the right time for your business. So if you find yourself, oh my God, I have a business problem, bing, bang, boom, I know what the answer is. I'm going to do this big ass project. You might have a mindset issue. Okay. Revamping your website, redoing your branding, hiring somebody to help you with your messaging. Yes, a lot of people have messaging issues and can improve upon that. But if you already have business and you're just having, again, my example today is just a dip in your revenue, it probably doesn't mean it's not working. It probably just means you need to find a way to look at what's actually happening in your business. It doesn't mean that it's all about messaging and copywriting. Okay. The other big project I see people do is, I have a dip in revenue. I better go hire like 7 new people to help me because I don't know what to do, right? Because all of this is about, I don't know what to do. So I'm grabbing a solution out of the air and I'm trying to solve problem A with answer Y. They don't work. Creating a new strategy. This is one of my favorite things to get upset about because people say, okay, my problem is a dip in revenue. And I'll give you a great example for me that I use a lot. Okay, I'm primarily a one-on-one coach. I do have a group coaching program, but let's pretend for a minute that I didn't. I have one-on-one coaching. Now, if I have a dip in revenue, does that mean that I need to Stop all promotions for one-on-one coaching and go create a group program because that's the best way to make money? No, I need to keep working what I already have set up because I've already done all the legwork and I've already created relationships and I already have people who know what I do and they know that I do one-on-one coaching. I just need to keep reaching out to the right people, keep promoting myself, keep having conversations, keep doing all the sales actions that I know to do. Maybe look at my mindset, but like my problem is not that I don't have a group coaching program. And group coaching is a great strategy. It's also a lot of work to set up. So if your problem is a dip in revenue, picking up any big project is 9 times out of 10 not the right answer. Because what does it do? It just perpetuates that problem. Okay, now I got to pull money, time, energy, all my resources into this new big project, right? That's why it's a mindset issue, because we think that if we just dive into something, it'll solve the problem and it makes us feel useful. That's the way that our minds like to play tricks on us. So number one, if you're in the energy of overwork or in the energy of throwing spaghetti against the wall, that's your clue that you might need to go back to the drawing board and take a look at your mindset and really look at what are you telling yourself. We can talk about this in another live, but like, what do you do then from a mind to help yourself with your mindset? So today is really about just getting awareness. This is where you're like, okay, now I know I probably have a mindset issue. What's happening here? Okay. Number two is you're compelled to jump into a big project. You're compelled to solve the problem with a really big project, which just, again, it oftentimes creates another problem or perpetuates your existing problem. So if your existing problem is I have a dip in revenue and you decide to solve it by picking up a big project, then I'm going to take revenue, time, money, and energy and put it into that big project, which means I'm delaying my result of getting out of this dip, right? Okay, let me know if that makes sense. Let me just check the comments here and then we will get to number 3. Okay. Oops. All right, so number 3, this is one of my other sort of favorite hacks. And I invite you to notice first off, like, what are the things you probably have your own clue or cue, your own individual clue or cue. And this is one of the things that I like to try to figure out when I'm working with my clients. What's your tell? Right? So in poker, if you have a poker face, usually the people that are really, really good at poker will notice other players' tells. I don't know if I'm saying this right, but this is just how I'm going to explain it. So maybe you've noticed that every time somebody has a good hand, they, have like an eye twitch or something, right? Or every time they get a card they didn't want, they clear their throats, right? Or something, or they say something, right? It's often different. It can be facial or, verbal or whatever for us, but it's often different for entrepreneurs or just in general. But I think a lot of times your tell is either some sort of action or habit, or it's something that you're saying to yourself. So I'll give you some examples. So I'll give you some examples. I'll tell you mine. You know what I say a lot when it's not okay is I say, it's fine. It's fine. Oh, it's fine, right? On the one hand, that's something that I can use from a healthy perspective, like, okay, something didn't get delivered on time. Okay, it's fine, right? And that sort of helps me just go, big picture, Laura, it's okay. Like, it's not the end of the world. We'll be okay. But when I have the words, it's fine on repeat, and I hear myself saying it every time I talk to somebody about this particular issue, or every time I'm thinking to myself about it, and I'm like, okay, it's fine, right? I don't really mean it's fucking fine. What I mean is it's not fine, right? I'm annoyed by it and I'm trying to just like sweep it under the rug, or I'm trying to just not deal with it or whatever, right? So for me, it's fine. I have a client who will say, I'm happy to do it. And 9 times out of 10, when she says that, it has to do with something that she's actually not happy to do, right? She's committed to something. The other one I hear a lot is, I don't mind, right? Somebody asked me this, it's outside of my boundary of the whole boundaries that I normally hold with my clients, but I don't mind, right? On the one hand, a single isolated incident of it's fine, I'm happy to do it, I don't mind, is fine, to use mine. And then there's a point where you find yourself on repeat and it's not fine. So what is yours? Oh, I can do that. I mean, I can do that. I can do it. I can do it. Doesn't mean you want to, doesn't mean it feels right to you, doesn't mean it's aligned. Sorry, I'm moving around so much today, guys. I'm having a hard time getting comfortable. So what's your tell, right? So for me, if it's the I'm fine and I hear myself saying it and I know this about myself and I've sort of clued in my like programming mind to say, okay, when you say it's fine a lot, it's probably not fine, love. Take a minute with that. What do you need to do about this? This is all about expanding awareness, right? So if I'm doing something for a client, I'm just going to use this boundary thing as an example. Let's say I'm doing something for a client that is outside of the boundaries that I've normally set. So I do one-on-one coaching over 5 months. And let's say somebody wants me to only work with them for 2 months. I don't know, I'm making this up. Then if I keep saying I can do it, I mean, I can do it, or I'm happy to do it, or it's fine, or I mean, I can do that, right? Do you see how that's like a clear tell that like I'm outside of my boundaries? I'm not holding a boundary. I'm kind of wanting to people please. So that's your tell. The other tells, I think, so again, my question to you around this is what's your tell? And you might probably have more than one. And then make a note of that. Stick that in your journal. When you're dealing with business problems, when you're dealing with life problems, when you have a challenging day, or when you're doing something and you're just like not paying attention, go back to that. What are your tells? Have I been doing that recently? Okay, it's time to have a little bit more self-awareness and try to figure out what's really going on mentally and emotionally for me so that I don't lead from a blind spot anymore. Other people's tells are things like they start stress eating. Maybe you notice that you've been drinking every single night of the week and that's not your norm. Binge watching TV, I don't know, that's not really a problem, but again, it's whatever it is, if it's for you, what is it for you that you notice you do? Smoking, what is it that you do that you notice you do when you're stressed out, when things aren't good, that you might even almost miss? If I work too much, I will forget to eat. I will forget to eat. Or I will forget to plan out my meals, and then I'll be so back to back busy at work that I might be hungry. I might not forget to eat, but there's nothing in my house to eat. So I didn't plan my meal. I don't really have anything. I have to throw some chips in my mouth and move on, right? So that's one of my tells. If I do that every now and then, it's just sort of par for the course for me. I have ADHD and I get really, really focused when I'm working with my clients. And sometimes I just miss the body cues, and that's really fine. But if I'm doing it on repeat, if I do it, more than once or twice a month, then it's something that I know I need to look at, and I need to look at my schedule, or maybe I just need to go to the grocery store more often. Like, it couldn't be that simple, but it's one of my tells that, hey, Laura, put your little antennas up and it's time to just pay attention a little bit more. All of this is about increasing awareness. Okay. Let me know if that makes sense. Let me know if you have questions. What are your tells? Where have you noticed yourself pulling yourself into a big project when you actually maybe have a mindset issue? Where are you overworking? Where are you, and if it's not overwork for you, where are you stuck in a habit on repeat that you can't seem to get out of? That's your clue that there's some mindset stuff going on. If you want some help with that, you can hop on. I've got a free session call right now that's available. So I will put the link here in the comments. Take me up on it. I'm offering one free coaching session. Hop on a 45-minute call with me and we will figure out what your tell is. We will figure out, what's going on from a mindset perspective around some of these patterns that you can't seem to get out of. If you have a strategy question, if you have a practical action challenge and you're not sure quite what the next best step is for your business, that's another opportunity that you can use that free call for. So take me up on that while it's still available. Again, one more reminder, next week, this is going to be part 2, and we'll be talking about when you have an action issue, when you need to do something from an action standpoint. I see a lot of people thinking they have a money block in particular and saying like, oh God, I have a money block, and they're going out to look for all of the right practitioners to help them, and they're throwing everything at money blocks when they're just simply not taking strategic, practical action that will get them sales in their business. So that's what we're going to talk about next week, is how do you know when you have an action problem versus a mindset problem? And let me know how this resonates with you. Coaches, let me know what you've seen in your clients. I would love to see that as well. And just one more reminder that next week's live will be on Thursday. It's just going to be next week. I'm just traveling on Wednesday. So meet me here, same time, same place, but on Thursday next week. All right, guys, have a lovely, lovely week, and I will see you next week. Take care.